Okay, hi, we're back. Now we're going to be adding legs to our table, and I left us in the 3D view here, so we're going to go ahead and go back to, let's look at the right elevation this time. And I need to add some more reference planes because I did not add the reference planes for the legs. So let's go ahead and add those. We're going to go to Create, Reference Plane, and I'm just going to create a couple of them like so, and then we're going to go to modify. I'm going to add some dimensions here for the legs, and then we're going to make those 2 inches thick. So all I need to do is select the inside plane that I created, make that 2 inches, select this new one, and again change that to 2 inches. So now we have the reference planes created for where we want our legs to be. And that's on the right and left. The front and back are going to be the flat planes. All right, so let's use our right-hand side to start creating our leg. And again, we're going to make another extrusion here. So create, solid extrusion, rectangle, and I want to go right inside these reference planes for both the left and the right. We'll do both of them at the same time. Our extrusion, I really want it to be 3 feet. I'm not sure if it'll be centered there, but we're going to go ahead and hit 3 feet here. That changes the depth automatically. There's no offset for right now, and I'm going to go ahead and click Finish Edit Mode. Okay, so now we have 2 legs created. We have the option of editing those legs, and in order to decide what I need to do, I'm going to go to the 3D view. And as you can see, it came in from the center point, from that reference plane on the center point rather than the end point. So we can't move them. We have to actually edit them. So let's go back to our let's go to our back view. And we're going to grab the little grabbers and drag. So that one should be in the right place. Let's check the front. So the front automatically moves because we created them both as a single extrusion, both legs. They're going to move in unison with each other, and that's going to work well for later on when we set up our parameters. Click outside. Okay, so now that we have our basic framework set up and we have our extrusions done, we have our table basically starting to look like what we want it to look like, we do have to do something called flexing the model. And because we have these reference planes and we have everything pretty much attached to a reference plane, we do have to do a little bit of housekeeping here, and then we flex the model and make sure it's actually going to work parametrically the way that we want it to. So what we do is we're going to start with the reference level on top, and we need to actually use the Align tool here. We're going to lock the model lines and surfaces to the reference planes. And once we do this, and I'll show you what happens, you'll see why we have to do this. But that's basically how Revit sets up how we're going to be able to move things around and change dimensions once we set it into a model. So we're going to click on first the Align tool here at the top. We're in the Modify ribbon. Click on Align. And the first one that we're going to align are all the outer edges of the table top. So we're going to select the outside reference plane here. And then we're going to select that outside edge of the tabletop, which is actually the back edge. I'm going to click on that. And once we click on that, we get the lock tool. So we need to click on the lock tool and make sure that those are locked together. We're going to do that for all the outside edges. So the next one I'm going to do is this reference plane on the right-hand side here, and then select the tabletop and lock it. And then the front side, the tabletop, lock, the left side, the tabletop, and lock. So now the tabletop itself is locked to the reference plane. And what we can do is the flex part of this is to go ahead and click on modify, grab the move tool, select that reference plane, and drag it. Sorry, it was giving me trouble. We're going to select the reference plane and drag it out. And let's select this other reference plane and drag it out. And now let's take a look at our 3D view. So what's happened was we grabbed the reference plane and it dragged the tabletop out from the edges, which is great because now we know that that's actually working. We can go back to, I'm going to undo and go back to my reference level, and I'm going to try the other direction. So I'm going to grab the side reference plane and drag that out and do the same thing for this side. And now you can see that it came out because my legs are now just where they used to be, but my tabletop has grown. So let's take a look in 3D view. So now you can see that yes, my table is moving in both directions because I have locked it to those reference planes. So I'm going to undo and go back to my reference level. So I know that that's working correctly. The next thing that I want to do is go to my right elevation. And I want to do the same thing a couple of different ways here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to align, click the align tool, the top of the table, reference plane name top to the top of the table, and lock it. And then I want to also do that with the sides of the legs. So I'm going to select, the side of the tabletop. So I'm going to select the left-hand side with my align tool, and then I just want to pick this one little piece of the tabletop and lock that. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, one little piece of the tabletop, and lock it. So now I can do the same thing and flex the sides of the table by grabbing this reference plane and dragging it, grabbing this reference plane and dragging it out. And you can see that it's working. Undo. And then the tabletop, of course. So we're going to grab the tabletop and drag it up. Now notice that the bottom part of the table did not come with it. And right now I don't want it to because I'm going to lock that in place. I don't want that to be something that's a parameter that can be changed. I want that to stay 2 inches. So I'm going to not make that a movable parameter. I'm going to undo my flex and keep this exactly how it is, and I'm going to leave this dimension here and leave that as it is. All right, so now that we have those flex areas taken care of, we also need to flex the legs and lock those into place. So what I'm going to do here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually attach the sides of the legs to the outer plane here so that it moves in unison with the top. That's kind of how I want this to be designed. Once you guys actually understand how the parameters work and the reference planes, you could do something independently with the legs, but I want this to all move together as one. So, so the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and select the align tool, and I'm going to click this outside one, and this time I'm going to choose the leg extrusion, the outside of the leg extrusion, and lock that. And I'm going to do that to the other side as well, the leg extrusion, and lock it. And I'm going to flex that, see if it's working. So the leg is stretching out, and I am not locking the inside of the leg at this time. Same as the tabletop. Those are going to be stationary. They're going to move with the other piece. So there's a way to do that by just leaving the dimensions here, and it stays locked together. So those are the ones that I'm going to do so far. The other thing I want to do is I want to make these legs change in height along with the tabletop. And so we may have to undo this, but I think the next thing that, that I did was to align and select the bottom of the tabletop and then this one little piece of the top of the leg and lock that, and do that for the other side as well. It's one little piece of the top of the leg and lock it. Now there's also a reference plane down here on the ground, and we aren't going to be moving that reference plane at all. We'll see how it works out. We may have to, not the level, but the reference plane itself, we may have to attach that to the bottom of the extruded leg, but I'll come back to that in just a little bit. I want to make sure that that's actually necessary. All right, so now let's take a look at our 3D view. And everything looks in order. So if you feel that you have all of the alignment done and everything is locked, all the edges that you want to be able to move around are moving together, then you're ready to move on. I do want to check one other thing, and that is to go to my floor plan reference level, and I want to see if my legs are actually moving with it this time. So let's take a look. And yes, they are. So it looks like we've got it set up. I'm going to undo that. So we're ready. Once we've done the aligning and locking the 3D geometry to the reference planes and we've tested it out, now we are actually ready to set up the parametric parameters for the table. And that's the most important part, really, of making this work correctly as a parametric family. So we're going to go to the reference planes here. And I only have a few more minutes on this video, but we'll see how far we can get. I'm going to go ahead and delete these dimensions that I have here. And what I want to do is create dimensions for the overall length and width. So we want the width and the length. And then I want to go to my right, and I want to make sure, my right elevation, I want to make sure that I do have this height dimension set up. All right, so once we have those dimensions there, we're going to create some dimension parameters. We're going to go to the reference level, and if I click on this dimension itself, now you look up here and we're in the Modify Dimensions ribbon, and we're looking for this area here that says Label Dimension. And what we're also looking for is this little tab just on the right-hand side that says Create Parameter. So we're going to click on Create Parameter, and that's going to bring us to the parameter properties. The dimension that I chose was the width, so that's what I'm going to name this parameter. We're going to leave it as a family parameter, but we're going to change the type to instance. Nothing else needs to be changed here, and we're going to go ahead and click OK. And now you see that we have the word width equals 3 feet, which means that that parameter has been set up. Let's click on the length, go up to our Dimensions Modify ribbon, Label Dimension, click on Create Parameter. This time it's going to be length, and change it to instance again, leave everything else as is, and click OK. Finally, we're going to go to our right elevation, select the height dimension, up at Label Dimension, parameter type, height, and instance, and OK. Now we have this set up as well as a parameter height. Once that's all complete, we can go over here to the Properties panel, click on Family Types, and now you see in Family Types we have our 3 parameters set up for this model. We can test this out, which we will do in the next video. We're going to move this over to the side, go to our 3D view. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm going to cancel that. Go to our 3D view, click on Parameter Family Types, and we'll get to that in just a second.